Back again for another video. So today's topic will be a little bit different than normally what I go over. I normally go over the fundamentals of male-female exchanges, but this isn't a fundamental per se. It is more of a build-up to that it stands on the shoulders of everything I said previously. But anyways, the topic that I'm going to do today, it's a bit hard to articulate, but try to keep up with me on this one. So, I want to talk about the Magos, the masculine men who harness femininity as their spokesman, how they articulate their lives. These men are very prevalent in the Black community, as we all know. We call them by many words. We call them simps, magos, betas, everything that we can possibly name, in a way that is less than what a man is supposed to be. But I want to dive into the larger picture of things. So we always talk about, Black female fuckery. We talk about, what the Black woman is doing, her pathologies, everything. We break those down very harshly. And we break those down very accurately most times. But I don't think we've given much of a good look into the men who facilitate these things, because I am a firm believer that everything that a woman has access to in regards to authority to do something, a man gave it to her in some way, shape, or form. It may not take the classical forms that we all understand, exchange of money, delegation of authority, etc. It could be by not doing something or doing something. You can transfer your power as a man to a woman in such a way, because the structure is set up to reverberate that kinetic energy that you give off. It's no different than a domino effect. You do one thing and out comes some other product that you didn't foresee happening, or you may have foreseen happening but wanted to take the risk anyways. This goes in line with what the discussion is going to be. So I have a lot of running hypotheses in my mind, and one of them is that let's address something first. The first thing I want to address is the structure that exists. I've always said that the programming that we see prevalent in the Black community is more for the designer of the program, whoever that may be, whatever game you want to give them, than it is for the one who is programmed, because it seeks to uphold and build the structure that created the program in the first place. And if we view the gynocracy as a structure, we have to, in some ways, view what happens within the gynocracy as programming. Now, this is where I'm getting to my point. We have to also view the people within the gynocracy as the programmed. Now, the programming is different based upon how the structure needs them to be. For women, we have spelt out the gynocratic programming very much so, front to back. We read it side to side, and we know up and down how it operates and why it operates. But we have not spelled out mostly the positions that the men play. We have now only begun to suss out and address these issues, but I think I have a few hypotheses to add to this. The sussing out and defining of what we call the mago, the simp, the beta male, whatever you want to call them. So the first thing that I want to point out is that there's a reason why there is indiscriminate reproduction going on in the Black community, because it's not necessarily about having a certain kind of kid or by a certain kind of person. This is where those topics of select and non-select exists. I mean, come on. Select and non-select in the black community, that's not it's not something that I go by, because we're topsy-turvy, we're upside down, we're left to right. We are not standing on our heads, or excuse me, we are standing on our heads. So you can't take any of these things serious when they come out of the black community, aka the gynocracy. You can't take anything serious in regards to, especially what a group of individuals say about defining the reality, because their reality is only held within a certain parameter, which is the gynocracy, and we all know the gynocracy is full of falsehoods. So this whole debate about select and non-select, Pookie and Ray Ray, all this crazy stuff, it doesn't it shouldn't affect actual men. Why? Because the men who are about something, who are leaders, who are masculine, who are dominant, those men create the environment. They don't react to it. And what we see largely are the men reacting to the environment. This is behavior of women. This is why I said, the masculinity with the forefront of pseudo femininity being the expressor. This is why you see the men behaving the way they do. We all know this. But what role? Why is this happening? How are the players positioned, and what are they supposed to do? Well, it's my firm belief and opinion that most of the black men who are the Magos, the simps, whatever, they're pretty much the breeding stock. They're the breeding stock of the gynocracy. You have to remember, keep in mind that everything is backwards in the black community. The expectations and the entitlement of the women are higher than the men. This does not exist in any other culture that I can readily think of, and that you may be able to readily think of. This doesn't exist anywhere else. It doesn't exist that the women have more power than the men in most other societies. Things are backwards. So if other societies, the women are the breeding stock of the community, and they're used to perpetuate a man's purpose, or the masculine purpose, or the purpose of the men collectively, how would this look in the black community? It would look opposite. It would look upside down. This will mean that the men of the black community, which are the Magos, the simps, the beta males, as you want to call them, they're being used as the breeding stock to uphold the gynocracy. I mean, really think about that. This is the reason why there's so much indiscriminate reproduction going on by the selection of the women. They don't necessarily care who they have children with, because they are programmed to perpetuate a narrative. They're programmed to perpetuate a circumstance and pathology. They're not necessarily programmed to propagate the best mate possible. They're not being programmed for that currently. What they are programmed for is to perpetuate, once again, the doings of the gynocracy. The gynocracy does not care how successful the child is, or how healthy the child is, or they don't care about the children. Remember, the forefront of the gynocracy is to put the woman first. How the woman wants to be and what she sees fit is how it will be perpetuated in the black community. And once again, like I said, this goes back to the men being the breeding stock. The ones who are, oh, these cars are so ridiculous. Like, get your damn mufflers fixed. But anyways, the ones who are, are defending the gynocracy, who are upholding the gynocracy, who are coming to the rescue of these women, that's something that a woman would do in defense of her man. That's all these behaviors that you guys are seeing online. These are female traits that you're seeing. These aren't necessarily men that you're dealing with. You're dealing with the spokesman of women. And I don't mean, you're dealing with a gynocratic female. No, you're dealing with a male who has a female as his spokesman within himself. You're seeing female behavior. You're seeing female nature being displayed All the stuff that you guys are understanding when it comes to these simps and these magos, these beta males, as you want to call them, once again, this is very indicative of how females would behave. How do I know this? Because I'm a man myself and I don't behave that way. That's clearly. And there are many other men who think the same way than I do. But my point of this is to point out that a lot of these guys, they are fodder. They are fodder. They're seen as fodder. You know, just like in other communities, you know, unfortunately, the women are seen as fodder a lot of times in those communities, especially a highly patriarchal, you know, community. Women aren't praised for their physical being as much. And this goes the same as a highly matriarchal, gynocratically driven, ideologically driven society, which is the black community. A lot of these guys, they're nothing but, like they said, they have batteries being put in their backs. I mean, that I don't think that hits home hard enough for these guys. I think calling them the reproductive livestock of the black community will probably hit a whole lot harder, because that's exactly what they are. Those men, they're not used for anything but their energy. They're nothing but forget putting the battery in the back. They are the battery. You know, they are being used for their energy indiscriminately. It doesn't matter. That's the reason why none of these men that these women call for protection have a particular face. They don't have a size. They don't have there's nothing particular about them at all, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You magos, you simps out there, it doesn't matter what kind of woman you get. If she's part of the gynocracy, she doesn't value at all. She can be as pretty as she can be. You know, she can pretend to be whatever she wants to be. You know, you can hold her up as your so-called queen all you want, but she sees you nothing more than just a battery. She sees you nothing more than just a reproductive livestock. You're nothing but fodder. But anyways, I've talked long enough on this one. Like I said, this is a little bit different video for me because some things are really annoying the hell out of me. I mean, not necessarily that anyone is coming for me or anyone saying anything negative about me, but you know, I just hate to see men behave this way. And hopefully this reaches where it needs to reach. I guess you can call this a rant, probably. But I don't like it at all. And you know, to be frank, I'm powerless to do anything about it. But maybe I can talk to some of these guys. Maybe I can't. I don't know. Who knows? I'm doing my part. You know, because I talk to the people in my community, virtually and in real life as well. You know, I keep my circles real small for a reason, because there's not a lot of men left. And I don't associate with simps. I don't even let them in my house. You know, they can't cross my threshold at all. Like if you got any of that, nope, you gotta go. You can't come over here. I don't want that energy in my house. Women, they're the only ones that can come in my house for the most part, and the men that I approve of. And that's because the men either align with my energy, and the women have reverence for my energy. So I'm in control of my atmosphere at all times. But these simps, I've had friends, you know, that like, you know, can we invite them? No, hell no. And I don't have to give any explanation because it's my fucking house. So, but anyways, talk long enough and I want this to go on. But I just wanted to lay that on you guys real quick. I'll probably get back to my regularly scheduled programming after I get this out of my system. It's probably going to be a few more videos that come subsequently to this, because I have a lot of things I have to say about these so-called dudes. I don't normally talk about dudes, but it is really annoying because these people are detractors, just like the females are. They don't recognize it. They won't recognize it. But I figure if I do a few videos, point this out, this will be a reference point for my line drawn in the sand. But anyways, this has been a Wolf in Bedded Clothes. Maybe have a good day, and peace be with you.